In today's video, we will take a deep dive into the captivating history of Formula One in Vietnam. From its ambitious inception to the challenges it faced, we will explore the design and construction of the circuit, discuss what went wrong, and speculate on the possibility of the race returning in 2024. So let's rev up the engines and dive into the fascinating story of Vietnam in Formula One. There are possibilities that Vietnam could potentially be selected as a host for the 2024 Formula One World Championship, as indicated by a report from the Formula One news site Grandprix. According to the report, Stefano Domenicali, the CEO of F1 Group, has held discussions with officials from Hanoi and Vietnam regarding the prospect of organising a race in the country next year. Grandprix mentioned that Vietnam is considered a strong candidate to be included in the 2024 F1 calendar. The likelihood of the Vietnamese Grand Prix making a comeback has increased significantly, with the recent news of Stefano Domenicali making a visit to Hanoi during his journey to Australia. Initially, the idea of having a Formula One race in Vietnam was explored by former Formula One CEO Bernie Ecclestone, even though there were already 4 Asian events on the calendar at the time. However, Ecclestone eventually abandoned the pursuit due to the concerns about the event's feasibility, given the previous failures of races in South Korea and India. When Liberty Media took over Formula One, they revived the efforts to secure a race in Vietnam and engaged with the Vietnamese authorities. In November 2018, the Grand Prix was officially announced, marking the first new event under Liberty Media's ownership. The race was scheduled for April 2020, which meant there was significant pressure to prepare the circuit in time. Renowned circuit designer Herman Tilke was appointed to oversee the development of the track and its associated facilities. The goal was to create a distinctive and unique hybrid layout that combined the enclosed nature of a street circuit with the advantages of a more open traditional circuit. This design had to take into account the city's topography and incorporated both existing roads and newly constructed ones along the circuit's length. The collaborative effort between F1's motorsports team, Herman Tilke, the City of Hanoi authorities, the race promoter, and the FIA led to the final design of the circuit. Taking inspiration from renowned circuits around the world, the track aimed to provide exciting racing and overtaking opportunities. The opening corners, turns 1 and 2, were modelled after the Nürburgring's initial bends, designed to create a clear chance for overtaking. Turns 12 to 15 drew inspiration from a section of the famous Monaco street circuit, replicating the challenging run uphill to Massenet. The sequence of turns 16 to 19 offered fast and sweeping changes of direction reminiscent of the iconic S's at Suzuka. As for the final 3 corners, they were influenced by Malaysia's SEPANG circuit, featuring a fast left-right combination followed by a tightening radius entry. This final section of the circuit posed a significant challenge for drivers, as it presented opportunities for mistakes and allowed trailing drivers to benefit from slipstreaming and launch attacks into the first turn. Overall, the track design aimed to create thrilling moments and strategic battles for position. Construction of the new circuit began in March 2019, with the goal of completing it in just over a year for the scheduled race debut in April 2020. The progress was encouraging, with regular updates showcasing the construction of new roads and the impressive 300-meter-long pit building, which drew inspiration from Hanoi's imperial citadel of Tang Lum. However, in December 2020, organisers unveiled a revised layout for the track to ensure safety compliance based on updated advice. The final section underwent reconfiguration, adding a 23rd corner and widening the track by approximately 15 metres. Adjustments were also made to the pit entry design as a consequence. By February 2020, the construction of the entire circuit was completed, and there was great anticipation for the upcoming race. The circuit even made its way into the official F1 video game, allowing virtual racers to experience the track. However, as fate would have it, these virtual laps might be the only ones taken in frustration, as circumstances prevented the real-life race from taking place. So what went wrong? The highly anticipated inaugural Vietnamese Grand Prix was originally scheduled to take place on April 5, 2020, as part of a long-term agreement. However, the world was hit by the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic, and racing activities were brought to a halt globally. As a result, the prospect of holding a race in the Far East became increasingly challenging due to travel restrictions and the complexities of organizing events in densely populated city centers. Given the circumstances, Formula One had to adapt and create a revised season primarily focused on European races. Consequently, the Vietnam Grand Prix was unfortunately cancelled for 2020. It was widely expected that the race would return to the calendar in the following year once normal conditions were restored. And then it got worse. The prospects of Formula One racing in Vietnam are diminishing due to the central government's crackdown on corruption and the fallout from former city mayor Nguyen Duc Trung's legal troubles. Chung had advocated for the construction of a circuit around the My Dinh National Stadium on the outskirts of Hanoi, but he was subsequently jailed for charges related to stealing state documents and falsifying documentation. The Vietnamese government under President Nguyen Phu Trong has launched a significant anti-corruption campaign, causing doubts about the future of Formula One in the country. The authorities are investigating the contracts signed by Chung, including the agreement with Vingroup, the official promoter of the Vietnamese Grand Prix. Temporary structures for the race have been removed, and Vietnamese newspapers have been instructed to limit coverage of Formula One. Currently, the grandstands have been taken down, and the majority of the circuit remains unoccupied, except for a few amateur cyclists who sneak in, enticed by the spaciousness amidst the city's congested streets. These cyclists speed past decaying grass, overgrown weeds, and scattered debris carried by the wind. However, the actual track itself appears fresh, with the word Vietnam still clearly visible, painted on the asphalt. Beyond the enclosing metal fence, the familiar sight of Hanoi's countless motorbikes has already reclaimed the roads that were once designated to be a part of the 5.6-kilometer racecourse. Unless there are significant changes in the situation, Vietnam is likely to join the list of countries where plans for a Grand Prix were abandoned. The infrastructure built for the race, such as the pit building and main grandstand, will remain unused, symbolizing what could have been for the local population. The possibility of Vietnam's return to the Formula One circuit has received a boost with reports of Stefano Domenicali's visit to Hanoi during his journey to Australia. A report from the Formula One news site Grandprix mentioned that Vietnam is considered a strong candidate to be included in the 2024 F1 calendar. The likelihood of the Vietnamese Grand Prix making a comeback has increased significantly, with the recent news of Stefano Domenicali making a visit to Hanoi during his journey to Australia. While the current situation remains challenging, we can't rule out the possibility of the race returning in the future, provided that the necessary conditions and commitments are met. Only time will tell if Vietnam can overcome the hurdles it faces and re-establish its place on the Formula One calendar. As always, we'll keep a close eye on any developments regarding the Vietnamese Grand Prix and Formula One. If you found this video informative and enjoyed learning about the history of Formula One in Vietnam, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content like this. Stay tuned for future updates, and until next time, keep the racing spirit alive.